Hello everyone, Jess here, and welcome to the Yarnpreneur Society's Expert Q&A series. If you're watching us live or on the replay, please chime in with a hey or hello, where you are and what the weather is like today. You know I love to hear what the weather is like. Today here in New Jersey, it is quite hot. I was just telling our guest, Jen, who I'm going to introduce in 1 minute, that I am sweating even though the air conditioning is on and the fan is on and the shades are closed and I feel like I'm in a cave, but I'm still sweating. So let us know what's going on with you guys, if it's snowing, if it's raining, all that exciting stuff. I'm going to take 1 second and post our link here in our event just so that everybody can find us. You know the drill. I always do the same thing every single time. Awesome. All right. So we've got that posted. I see some of you coming in. We've got a handful of viewers. Awesome. All right. So we're joined today by Jen, owner, designer at Yarnitude. Jen, how are you doing today?
I am well. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. We're so excited to have you here. Can you tell us a little bit about your business, maybe how you got started, some of the story behind how you launched and where you are today?
Okay, so I published my first pattern, February was 2 years, and that's when I started working with amazing indie dyers for 2 solid years with yarn support, and I was blown away. So eventually I thought, well, you know, I would love to have my own yarn. So the long process started and I launched November 16th last year.
Nice.
And yeah, that's about where I'm at now. So we're about 8 months in.
Awesome. So you're a newbie, but you've got a lot of experience, I know, in the fashion industry as well, which is pretty cool. That's awesome.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so we're really excited to get to chat with you today. We're going to be talking about designing colorways, and I think this is a topic that a lot of our audience is really interested in, even if they're not dyers. I think it's kind of this like mysterious process that dyers tend to go through, and if you haven't been involved in the process, it kind of seems like some sort of mysterious magical thing that happens. So I'm really excited to unpack this with you today. Let's take one more chance to say hi to everyone who's jumping in. We've got Sarah, Asin, Amanda. Amanda says it's always hot in Oklahoma. Awesome. All right. Well, feel free to keep checking in as you guys trickle in. Say hi. And then if you have any questions, please send them in as you think of them. We're going to have a Q&A portion after the interview. So we'll talk to Jen and then get to those questions, so make sure you add them in. So Jen, I'm really curious about this whole process. So what does your creative process look like when you actually go to sit down and design a new colorway? What does that look like?
Most often, more than not, I am not sitting down trying to design a colorway. Yeah. I am out and about in the world with 3 children, you know, doing whatever. So, I don't think I've ever sat down and planned out a list for my dyers. It comes to me, I mean, one could come to me while we're live today. I mean, I could look out the window or whatever. It's color and it's the contrast of certain colors. And so for me, the creative process is nonstop. I'm sure it probably doesn't even shut off in my sleep. So it's just a nonstop process, and it depends on what time of year it is, and all of that stuff too. So yeah.
Interesting. So when you have an idea, how do you translate that from the idea in your head or the inspiration that you saw? How do you take that and actually give it to your dyers in a way that they can turn into a colorway?
The best photo possible. So my dyers are not local to me, so I can't just run over to their house every 5 seconds when I think of another one. It's you've either got to capture it or find it's a photo. A photo just, it's everything. It's everything for a colorway, not just for the consumer, but for your brain. To actually see a photo that you take and then it's on yarn is just, it's so fun. I do this all day. It's so fun.
That's awesome. Well, I love to see the passion. That's pretty cool, because I think I've probably had the experience of seeing something and being like, hey, that would be really cool if it was yarn. But I would have no clue what the first step would be in like making that actually happen. And I think I've seen a lot of indie dyers who post their inspiration photos with the colorway when it's listed in their shop, and I've found that those are the colorways that I kind of lean towards, because they feel like real. They feel like usually a lot of times it's like actually a picture like in nature, whether it's like a bird or a landscape or
some
whatever.
People, that's what unleashes their creativity.
Yeah.
On the end of, you're not the dyer, you're not the designer, you're purchasing the yarn and the pattern, or not the pattern, or you just see this yarn and you have to have it. But it's a way to bridge, I think, for a lot of people. Like, here's this yarn, but I saw it like this, and it may, it may influence what you do with it too.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit kind of beforehand, before we went live, about what colorway inspiration photos mean, not only for, you use them to communicate to your dyers, what they should actually make the colorway look like. And then what do they mean to a shop owner? Do you find that they actually increase sales? Do you have any sort of, information around, do people tend to buy if they see that picture? Like, what does that correlation look like?
Well, just as you said, you tend to lean towards ones that have those photos. I think photos are everything. I love photography as much as I do knitting and designing and the yarn industry. So, photos, it's like when I publish a pattern. I mean, photos are what sell. I mean, that's what sells. And for me to get up close and personal with things I'm blocking or have just finished, I mean, I am on the dining room table with my behind in the air, and I am, as close as I can to that cable going down the center. And so for me, I am in my element photographing the yarn. So not only do you need a really good photo inspiration or color inspiration photo, you have to be kind of good behind a camera to take good, because business today is online. I mean, it's just what it is. So people are on their phones and they're seeing thumbnails, little thumbnails. And if it doesn't catch their eye amongst so many others, it's usually a photo issue, in my opinion. So I spend a lot of my time photographing my yarns. I always take at least 4 of every colorway in multiple ways, and then designs too. It's just, people want to see. If I was buying the yarn, I would want to see as many photos as possible. And before I purchase something I've never touched before, whatever.
Yeah. I also always say that as makers, we are so visual just to begin with, whether we realize it or not. We inherently kind of gravitate towards things that are pretty and well lit and well composed and like look like they would actually, look like that in real life when you open the package and bring it out. And I would definitely agree that photography is extremely important for dyers and designers alike. So, side question that just kind of came to me as we were talking. What does your general photography setup look like? Can you give us kind of a basic overview? Do you do like flat lays? Do you do like white backgrounds? But she's getting really excited.
It consists of an iPhone.
Okay.
And I buy like a maybe it's $2 for a white foam board. I now have probably like 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
But what makes me laugh is the behind the scenes, because the photos I take are pretty darn good. But then when you get behind it all, there's toys everywhere.
Yeah.
But, I'm always up by a window somewhere. And, so I like white.
Okay.
I like white in the back. It just pops. It seems to pop with every single colorway.
Yeah.
Very rarely do I, unless I'm, sharing in a group or something, is it a different background. But white is great, and natural light is the best in my opinion. So I have nothing fancy. Absolutely nothing.
That's awesome. Because I think a lot of people get scared when they think about photography. They're like, oh, I have to have this big camera, and I have to have all this lighting equipment and these setups and these boxes and even like props and things. And I think those things are good if you're ready for them.
Right.
But if you don't need them, keep it simple. I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
So what would you say is the most difficult part about designing new colorways? What do you find yourself getting stuck on occasionally?
It's always funny what colorways will grab people. It's really funny. It could be like we were talking before we went live. There's people that love peacocks, and then there's people that love cats, and there's people that love coffee, and I could go on and on. So I think that kind of leads you with where you're going with colorways. Now, it's so hit and miss too. It really is. And then, so there's many factors, I guess. So for me, there's only so many colors in the rainbow. There's only so many color combinations we can all do.
Yeah.
So I think what breaks it down to making yourself and setting yourself aside from all of the others is either, your dyeing techniques by yourself or your dyers. You need a signature. I don't even know if I know that I have one yet, but I have not. My vision has stayed the same, and so I guess that's it.
Yeah.
Stay on your own path, and I don't ever use other people's yarns and colors for color inspiration. I mean, I am in such a world of my own.
Yeah.
Sounds terrible. I'm very not selfish either. So that sounds kind of selfish, but I love what I do, and so I am just nonstop in this, certain lens of life, and I think that's what kind of makes it your own too. Is how you see the world is going to kind of splash onto your yarn too.
I love that. And I think that's a good kind of segue into what I want to bring up next, which is we talked about like seeing the world through a specific lens and having a good eye for color and how you can like find inspiration everywhere. So what does that look like for you? Are you totally just like sitting outside and like, oh my God, that cloud, like it looks like
just sensory overload 24/7.
So where's the weirdest place that you've ever thought of a colorway?
Concrete. And here's the thing. I grew up with my dad doing concrete my entire life. My brother now does concrete as well. So there's that. But I love gray and I love texture. Yeah. So, like gray. My favorite colorway of gray is Seattle Skies, and it's sunny right now.
Oh my God.
It's 63.
Who'd have thunk? Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, it can come from something that simple. I mean, I was making pancakes the other day. I mean, it's that bad. I was making pancakes for my kids, and one likes it with peanut butter, one likes it with jelly, and so I've got a combination of all this stuff on knives and forks, and I'm like, wow, and I'm like, oh, I'm crazy, but I'm not. Because imagine the picture and then the yarn. Some mom out there would be like, I need the PB&J yarn to make my son a hat.
That's too funny. I I wonder if it's just like being in the yarn world that doesn't seem like weird at all, that people outside would probably be like, but to me, I'm like, oh my God, like that's such a cool idea for a colorway for so many reasons, right? Like the actual colors themselves, but then the story behind the inspiration and the fact that it means things to people.
Yes, the story is huge. The story, I would say the story is right up there with the photography. I mean, if you have, and I have a story about yarn every 5 minutes, with my children included, or there is always a story, and I don't on purpose try to sell anything to anyone, believe it or not. So when it just oozes out of me all the time, because yarn is so much a part of my life, it's just the way it is. It's just everywhere. It's everywhere. You should see Colorways everywhere. If you're wanting to go into the indie dyeing business, you need to have that lens that doesn't shut off, and it does something to the inside of you too. I can't even explain it, but when you look at the world that way, for it, you're seeking inspiration, your days are better. I
love that.
I believe that. So
I love that. I think that's awesome. So how do you, once you've been inspired and you have your dyers actually dye the yarn, and then you bring it back for photography, how do you decide what those colorways are going to be called?
Oh, okay. So naming designs and colorways it's a double-edged sword for me. It's like naming a child you've just birthed. It's a big deal. Like, what are you going to name it? Because then it's that name forever. And it's funny because if you're good and you're witty with names, it works. It works. So I have fun doing that. My 4-year-old daughter knows every colorway of mine, and some of them are, from the movie Trolls, and stuff like that. So we've got Poppy Pink and just different things like that. So colorway names are huge, and that's kind of, for me, where the story comes into play too.
Gotcha.
And if it's a custom order, then, I love so many of the people that buy my yarn, so I love to name my colorways after them. It's so fun.
Oh, that's cute. I like that.
Yeah. So, and it's, what else is fun is like yarn is its whole subject, but then if the colorway, the color inspiration photo is from something so not yarn related, you can come up with some funny names that work. So give
us an example of a mashup like that works well. So my Mrs. This is so funny, and then it ends up like heartwarming. Okay, so I was searching for a good color inspiration photo for gray and yellow. Okay, I love that for spring, and I didn't know if I wanted to be there or not. What's that? It's a pretty combo. I like that.
Yeah, it is. It's fresh for spring. It's great. So I'm looking and looking and looking, and I, somehow end up in like wedding photos, online, and I'm like, oh, this could get weird. So I find this hanger, and it's just this gray metal hanger, and it has like a yellow flower, and then engraved it says Mrs. Sullivan. So, I posted in my Yarnitude group on Facebook, and I'm like, well, I've been laughing at this for like 48 hours, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to name it Mrs. Sullivan. Who's Mrs. Sullivan? I don't know.
I have no idea. That's so funny.
But then this awesome girl in my group, Mickey Stampy, it was her grandma's name. Aww. So we have a Mrs. Sullivan, and she got a skein of it and stuff. So it's just, that's a really cool one. But that happens all the time. If you get the right funny picture, you can really have a lot of fun with that.
That is so cool. I think that's a great, not only a great example of how like story weaves itself into, the actual product, but it's also just a really cool example of the audience responding to what you're putting out there.
And for me, that group is, I think we're at 8,400, but that group is such a little family. So there's just, the bonds just get built more and more and more, and more, like every day, every post. And so that was just, that meant a lot to me. Just that, that was
fantastic.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
So I think that's a good transition into talking about understanding your audience. So what are some things that you do, and you talked about your group, what are some ways that you solicit feedback from your audience or just naturally get feedback from your audience, and how does that affect the colorways that you design or the choices that you make going forward?
The group that I have, I started March 2016. So since then, they're just my people. So, I post too much. It's just, that was the warning from day one. I created this where I can just put all of my nerdiness in one location.
I love it.
And hopefully people can relate to every moment of it. And it's all day long. So for me, I don't sit and knit with anyone. I don't, it's just me. So I ask them everything. Like, what do you think of this color? Or, hey, I've had this picture in my phone for 2 years. What do you think of that? And stuff like that, even with designs or what color beads I'm putting on, the shawl I'm designing or whatever. Knowing your audience. So for me, I thought about this before today. They're like my family and my friends, and so I knew that we would be talking business and that I would be referring to them as possibly customers or, whatever.
Right.
So there's such a level of respect there that there's a fine line for me because I don't consider them to be my customers, but they are the general yarn public, and their opinions matter because they're the ones that are gonna, buy your product.
Yeah.
So, but with that said, it doesn't matter how many friends, fans, or followers you have. It's like the stories we were talking about. You have to, I don't know if you have to have a personality or not, but you have to have a heart in there, and you've got to be able to connect with people. And people are like my favorite. That's my thing. My jam is people. And I was a dental assistant prior to all of this, and I love people. And so when you factor that in with such a passion like I have for yarn and knitting, it just kind of happens on its own. So
I love that.
But know your audience. Go join all these groups everywhere and be amongst people like yourself. And I came across some thing on Facebook. It was letting me know I was in like 395 groups. And what? So I get added to them all day long. I don't even know I'm in them, but there are some very beneficial groups out there. You need positivity, you need knowledge, you need networking, and so there are groups for designers, there's groups for indie dyers, there's groups for just yarn passion like my group is. And I just think that you have to do your work, and the networking is business today is online and networking and all of that stuff. So knowing your audience is huge, and then you have to also go find your audience, and then you have to create yourself. Who are you? Do you need to do an Instagram? I finally did that like a year and a half ago, and it's like there's things that's what you have to do to be successful and to access as many people as you possibly can.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I think that's some great advice. Lastly, I'd like to talk about how you change your colors with the season. So what are kind of your strategies or, processes or systems that you follow kind of as the seasons change? Do you start offering different colorways? What does that look like?
So for me, I'm so fashion driven. So we could know if you could get online, you could know 2 years in advance what the colors are going to be. And I don't do that, but like I said earlier, you can walk into Target in like March and know what like summer's going to look like.
Yeah.
So for me, the colorways play a huge role in fashion. So whatever I do see online in stores, a lot of that inspires my colorways. I don't sit there and focus on what colors are hot for fashion at all by any means. But for myself, I know what colors I gravitate to for all the different seasons. What I like to do with my yarn is carry a color from the previous season into the current one, and then a different one from that season into the next one. And I don't know why. I don't even know why. I just like to do that. So
I like the common thread idea. Like, I think that's cool. It's a cool way to make the transition.
Yeah, and then I've only been doing this for 8 months. So for me, I'm probably building collections that way. I mean, then I have a 2018 collection where you can find navy blue in, all 4 seasons or whatever. So as you're doing it, as long as you're actively like trying things and realizing that people wear a lot more of these colors in the summer than they do in the winter, and that there are a lot of colors that work for all 4 seasons, like coral. And so it's just that's part of the fashion, I guess, is just that there's, I don't wear the darker colors as often in the summertime. I just wear bright all year long.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So last thing, and I have to ask this just because you've already grabbed a bunch of things and shown them to us. Can you give us a quick, sneak peek into all of the different colors and projects that you have kind of chilling around you?
So I just went and spoke and taught in Sacramento, and I taught the butterfly stitch.
Ooh, beautiful.
Butterflies. I just made my mom the cowl and shipped it this morning with my children, but I love beaded butterflies. And this is my Coral Me Happy color. And then, I've got a lot of stuff. So I'm about to teach my next class on the 26th, and I'm teaching my singled out and my singled out 2 designs, and I love one vertical cable. Ooh. So, and I'm all about cabled brims. They anchor.
Yeah, that's really cute.
Yeah. So, this is the hat, and then the cowl is this. You can see the vertical cable. Beautiful. So, and beaded decreases, which I didn't do on that one. But, so I'm teaching, finally, and that is my favorite thing on the planet. Absolute, hands down, let me teach every person I can possibly get in front of. So, it is just so exciting, and you can tell I'm very passionate about what I do. I love it, and there's just something so gratifying in, I've never taken a class in my life. I am self-taught with a 1-minute YouTube video. Wow. So for me, and I hit 7 years in February, but I am so detail-oriented. I am such a creature of habit. I have so many systems and so many ways and techniques that I
love that.
The way that I knit and stuff. So this is one of my favorite things is beaded decreases.
Oh my God. That's so cool.
Yeah. So that'll be part of my next class too. So yeah, I've got, pencil skirts. I still haven't published my pencil skirt. I don't know if you've seen that. They're so cute. I made one for my little girl too. I've got to get that published.
So cute. I love it.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of fun comments coming in. Thank you so much, Jen, for sharing all of that information. I'm going to pop over and see if anyone has any questions for us.
Okay.
I'm just going to scroll back a little bit. Let's see. Novella's here. Amanda W. is here. Amanda had a question for people that have good cameras. What are some tips for taking great photos on your phone? And then we talked about that, so that's awesome. We talked about natural light and our trusty 2-inch foam board. I used to use foam board as well. It's so funny because I think that people they'll probably look at your pictures and assume that there's this big whoop-de-doo involved. And I think it's awesome to learn that it's so much simpler than that.
Yeah.
Natalia said hi.
Hi, Natalia. Elam?
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Johnson. We got another
Okay.
one. I think we've got a few of them in here. Amanda said that's pretty close to what I do too. Photography is one of the perks for me. That's awesome. See, all of these people who love photography was so not my thing. Like, it was the last thing in the world I wanted to do during the designing process. I just didn't want anything to do with it. I was like, can someone else do this for me, please? And then, Amanda W. has another question. Advice for creating and leading a group. So do you have any quick tips for kind of leading a group? And I think you shared a few things about kind of what you do, but sum those up for us.
I'll try to make it as short as I can. Groups are tough. I started my group because there are so many rules everywhere, and I had gotten kicked out of groups for I don't even know why. I'm very respectful. I follow rules. It just got too much. I'll try to keep it down to 5 things. 0 tolerance for drama, 0 tolerance for negativity, 0 tolerance for any kind of derogatory anything, no politics, no religion. Now, if you do all of that, I only allow positivity. And I'm too nice, so it started out where I warned somebody 50 million times. Now, if I see something, delete and block if it's bad enough. I have this bubble of awesomeness. I mean, there's a camaraderie and a bond in there that I've never experienced with any other humans on the planet in my 40 years. So I am protective of that because everybody's got crazy lives, and a lot of us go through a lot, including myself, and life is stressful. I don't want to be a part of anything that doesn't make me feel good. So,
I love that.
So it's not an easy job, and I've got 4 ladies helping me as admins, and we handle 8,400 people, and there are no issues.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic, because I know a lot of people get nervous about building a group because they think it has to be this, I don't know, this big thing, and they have to worry about policing it, and people are going to get, and I think I like your rules. I think they're simple and they're to the point, and if you don't agree with them, then don't stick around, and that's fine. You'll cultivate a group full of plenty of people who do agree with, that sentiment, and just kind of keeping it positive. And I think that's fantastic that it's a little haven of awesomeness.
I think you just need to make it your own. The second you start looking at what other groups are doing, and what do you want out of it?
I love that.
Sit down and what do you want out of it, and type that up in the description, and then copy and paste it in your first, admin post, and tag it to the top of the thing, and never look back. And then, so I mean, I've had to add rules because I'm at 8,400, but you have to have a vision first. Otherwise, there's a lot of bullies online. It can get pretty hairy if you let it. So.
Well, I love that message. I think that's awesome. Few comments left. Looks like Valerie was enjoying the talk about the colorways. Amanda says she loves bright colors too. Natalia said those beaded hats are amazing. They are amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. So thank you guys so much for sending in those questions. And Jen, thank you so much for being here and sharing your expertise. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So if our guests want to learn more about who you are and what you do, where can our audience go to see more about your business and what you're doing?
Okay. My website for the yarn and project bags is www.yarnitude.shop. I'll spell Yarnitude for you. It's YARNITUDE. So it's awesome. www.yarnitude.shop. And then on social media, the awesome pictures of designs. I have 2. There's Jen Giutoli Designs. You should find me everywhere with that. And the last name is always hard for people to spell. So you say it. I can actually tell people how to say it. actually, I'm typing and it just shows up. So it's Giutoli, like
Okay.
the month June. Giutoli.
Giutoli.
Now, if you're in Italy, it's Giuntoli, but we're not.
So you don't just walk around introducing yourself as Giutoli? Why not?
I may have to do that one day. But yeah, so my first and last name with designs at the end, you'll find my business page for my designing and stuff. And then the yarn is Yarnitude LLC everywhere.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And audience, thank you for joining us today. Stay tuned for more expert Q&As and make sure you RSVP to any upcoming events that our lovely Amanda Pippin sets up so that you can get notified as we set stuff up. So coming up soon, we have Rachel, a Pinterest expert, and Sarah from Knit a Bit of Whimsy. So keep an eye out for those. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.